Well, for more information on this story and staying with it, environmentalists have come on board in a bid to effectively deal with this rat problem without hurting the environment by letting owls loose. And as effective as this method is, there are many people killing those very owls that assist with the persisting problem. Now, joining us now on the show is Jonathan Hall. He's a head of Eco Solutions. Morning to you, Jonathan. Appreciate your time. Thanks for chatting to us. Let's go back to the root of the problem. Excuse me. What attracts these rats?
Litter. Basically, that's all it is. The more litter that's out there, that's rat food. So we see trends in rat, numbers. Like the year before last, when there was the pick-it-up strike, rodent populations went through the roof. So that's the correlation.
And I guess you've got to be careful how you deal with them, because it's not a matter of just putting down rat ticks or poison. This could harm not only the environment, it could harm the people in the area.
There's children arrive in hospitals in this country every year that have eaten rat poison. And in South Africa, we have a bigger problem than most, because there aren't as many environmental controls on some of the poison that we use. And the poison that you buy at taxi ranks is actually aldicarb, which is that little bag of rat poison has the ability to kill a family. There actually is no such thing as rat poison. Rat poison does not exist. What you have is poison. They put on front of the box rat poison, but it is poison. It's not rodent specific. If a dog eats it, a kid eats it, a human eats it, it's just poison. So that's a big problem. And it actually doesn't work. Rat poison doesn't work. We've been using it for 50 years, and we still have these rodent problems every year, the same problem all over the world. So there's a kind of growing movement away from poisons.
The owls is fascinating. Explain to us, is it effective?
Well, it works on the premise that my enemy's enemies are my friends. So owls eat rats. It's that simple. A family of barn owls, barn owls are fascinating. They'll actually regulate their breeding to deal with rodent eruptions. Rodents have a kind of a cycle lifestyle where every year you've got an eruption of rodents, and then a decline, and then another explosion of rats. And owls mirror those explosions. So a family of barn owls, if there's a lot of rats around, will have up to 16, even 20 chicks. And that owl chick comes out of an egg, and 35 days later it's fully grown. So it's growing quickly, and it's eating a lot. So if you've got 20 chicks, they reckon that a family of owls will probably consume between 1,500 to 2,000 rats a year. Okay, so that's a lot of rats. And it's not just that, it's not just how many they eat, it's also the behavioral controls they exert on these rats. Rats are clever. I mean, poison companies wouldn't, they don't tell you how clever rats are, but we use them at universities and things like that. They're clever mammals, and they will avoid certain areas where the chance of predation is high. So by changing their behavior, you also control their numbers. They can't cross an open field because of the fear of predation. So owls are a very effective way of controlling rats.
It's not as if we see like a huge amount of owls. I mean, is it literally possible for them, and I'm sure there's millions of rats out there, is it really possible for the owls to help?
At the end of the day, you've got owl projects now running all over the world. In Malaysia, they're using owls exclusively to control rats in palm groves. In Florida and vineyards, they're using owls to control rats in those vineyards. And here, we've got owl projects all over the country at the moment. They're never going to eradicate your rodent population, but they're going to exert significant pressure. And at the end of the day, that's what you're attempting to do. I mean, owls have been barn owls are one of the most widely distributed birds in the world. And the reason for that is because rats are one of the most widely distributed mammal in the world. So they're there, they eat rats, and they're an ally. I mean, there needs to be part of an integration with using natural predators, looking at litter and waste management, educating people about how best to deal with their rodent problem. So it's not a fix-all, this will do it, but rat poison definitely hasn't been.
And they stop at nothing, rats. I mean, they literally will eat humans, as we've seen.
Well, rats will eat each other if they get really hungry. So that's why they're so successful. So if you've got a rodent population that's suddenly put under pressure, they'll actually breed and eat their young just so that they can survive to breed again when there's more food around. So they're remarkable. There's a theory out there that rats are farming humans. Just to put some perspective, a reverse kind of perspective on the whole thing. Yeah. So rats are very, very successful. But if you don't provide food for them, you add natural predators into the mix, and you should definitely include owls in any rodent control program, and that's what they're doing in Alex. Obviously, there's the mythological stuff and what have you that we have to overcome.
What do Eco Solutions do?
Well, we actually look at we're an environmental pest control company. So we look at perceived problem pests, and we look at environmental ways of dealing with them. For the last 100 years, we've been reaching for the poison bottle for all sorts of things, not just rats, but for insects, for anything you can think of that we see as a pest. So instead of that now, bats are another example. I was working out the other day how many mosquitoes a bat eats in a night. It's up to about 2,000 mosquitoes a bat eats in a night. We need to incorporate these things in our fight against malaria, against just normal pests. We're doing bat projects all over South Africa on citrus farms and macadamia nut farms to control a codling moth. And that's how it should be. We should include all of these things, and that's what Eco Solutions Charter is, looking at environmentally friendly ways to deal with our pests, as we like to refer to them.
And I guess obviously these rats carry diseases as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rats carry diseases. They're an economic problem. They're a health problem. They're just a problem. We're never going to eradicate rats. We need to know that as long as we're here, they're going to be here. But we do have ways of controlling them, managing their numbers better, or more successfully. And they carry diseases. The bubonic plague was linked to a flea that was found on a rat. But it's not that so much. It's just they're a nuisance. They eat our food. They bite kids, as we've seen now, and there are intelligent ways to control them that don't involve poison. I'm hoping that sort of 10 years from now you won't be able to buy rat poison, and we've seen that in America. We've seen cities in America that are banning rat poison because of the damage it does. It runs into water, it affects our environment. We're changing.
They freaked me out. I'm just going to let you know that right here for free. Jonathan, appreciate your time. Thanks very much. You're head of Eco Solutions. It's the reason why we're chatting to Jonathan, obviously, that disturbing story of that little 1-month-old baby is in hospital awaiting plastic surgery after being bitten or eaten by a rat. So we're looking at that problem. Jonathan's saying it's a massive problem. They breed existentially. And there is a call for more barn owls to try and help out with that problem. Also, the problem stemming from waste in and around our rural development areas. We'll keep you up to date with the condition of that 1-month-old baby. Appreciate Jonathan Hall's time.